Well, as usual on the channel, I'm working on stuff that I've already fixed that I don't want to be working on anymore. So back on the dually, if y'all remember, I took this to the Pro Touring Truck Shootout and I was towing my 67 C10 to go up there and have a good time, but the dually did not make it. We went to Chattanooga, got to the hilly portions of the interstates, and it just wouldn't make it. It started overheating, started burning transmission fluid, and it was a mess. Had to leave the truck there, pull the 67 off, drive it to the Pro Touring Truck Shootout, come back, pick it up, made it home safe. Then I found out my fans went bad, so I robbed some fans from Cookie Monster, which is what I really need to be working on, and was able to limp this thing to Battle and Bama, but they're the wrong size. They don't nearly move enough air to keep this 454 cool. And one of the big issues with this engine bay is the headers. Now, if you take a peek on down here, each of these primaries on these headers gets up to about 750 to 800 degrees. So you got 8 primary tubes putting off that much heat with the hood closed. And let me tell you, it wreaks havoc under the engine bay. It burned out my 16-inch Spall fans, and it burned out my wiring harness for the relays. So I went to Summit Racing and ended up going with some Meradyne fans. I also got their relays, but these are still the probe style relays. So you see in here, this is gonna be your temperature adjustment, and this probe's gonna go into the radiator fins. We're gonna switch the fuses out for new circuit breakers. Now these fans are thick. I mean, look at how deep it is. I think they're 3.5 inches total depth. And I have enough room in my engine bay to pull this off, but if you don't, you might want to go with a lower profile fan. The big thing that I'm going to do is relocate the wiring from right here in the engine bay to up under the radiator support, so we have cool air flowing in, and it's not going to be in where all of this heat is. Then we're going to pull the headers and we're going to wrap them with a header wrap, and fingers crossed, we could cool this engine bay down a little bit. These fans from Cookie Monster are only like a 14-inch fan, and they are not nearly big enough to keep this thing cool. Great for a little 350, but for this big old block that gets hot, nope. Like, just look at the difference in beefiness. Well, we'll take this out. Make it a little easier to mount the fans. Something like that. We got our Sharpie. You're gonna live in Florida, you gotta deal with a little bit of water. Well, this sucks. I think I'm gonna take a break. All right, now that the weather's cooperating, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting this back together. So I went ahead and put some expansion nuts up top. I just had self-tappers in before. Now I'm gonna sneak these tie straps to the bottom to hold the bottom in place. I thought it was gonna be tall enough to cover the core of the big block radiator, but it's a couple inches short. Now these fans are so big, okay, that they wouldn't go on if I was gonna put the fan shroud on the radiator. So what I have to do is go ahead and put them down there, okay, but kind of come in at an angle because it does interfere with the front runner here. But now that I can come in at an angle, I could go ahead and put on our fans. An old man turned 88. He won the lottery. Where I want to mount these relays is probably going to be subject to some moisture when it rains. And this particular relay set, if you look in here, there's no weather protection at all. It's just uninsulated wire connectors going into the relay. So what I'm gonna do as an extra precaution is take this butyl, pack it in here, and then when I mount the relays, I'm gonna mount them with the relays pointing up, so that if any moisture hits it, it'll just fall right out and it won't sit on any of these contacts. Sticky. Kind of get an idea what I'm doing there. Just packing it all up in there. And then we'll mount it over there. Power lines coming in from the battery. Now I reused these wires. These were going to the original circuit breakers, but the original circuit breakers were all the way over there. So now we got these air ducts cut out in the bumper for some nice cool airflow over our circuit breakers and our relays. So these wires are running to our AC compressor switch, 12-volt keyed ignition, and the temperature probe. So let's hop over there and see what those look like. These are the switches. They're adjustable, and the probes, which are, still haven't run them yet, they're right here. They'll go into the radiator up high near the radiator inlet. That's where the hottest water is going to be coming into the radiator. And you can set these to kick on whenever you want. And then also I have a wire running over from my AC compressor. I'm gonna hook it up to here. Really hoping this does the trick, because man, spend an entire day rewiring stuff and redoing stuff you already done. A little frustrating. Just gonna put them in the fins where the other probes were. It like doesn't feel right shoving something into the core of a radiator, but these things work really well. Just got the battery hooked back up. No smoking, so that's a real good sign. First test, we're gonna hop in here, turn on the ignition, and then turn on the AC. They already kicked on. Just one of them. I mean, oh. Well, I had a little bit of a setback when I hopped in there. AC was off, fan was on, AC was on, fan was off, right? Okay, so I got the MFA 100 kit. We're gonna run through this wiring schematic real quick. This is what we did to get the relays wired. And then I thought what I could do is just do a jumper from the AC compressor wire to the relay, and that would take care of it. But the problem is the switch that activates the relay to turn the fan on needs a negative signal, and the compressor is throwing a positive signal. So I did some research here by reading the directions, and found that they sell an MFA 101, which is a condenser fan harness that looks like it turns a positive signal into a negative signal, and it runs the negative signal to the relay, so when the AC's off, the fan's off, and when the AC's on, the fan's on. So this just looked like a regular little, you know, just a 4-wire relay. So I grabbed one from the fans that I had wired in temporarily. This is just, I have a couple of these laying around. It's good to have a couple of relays. Anywho's, their wiring's a little bit different. So your black goes to green, and then the black goes to red, and then the white and blue go to ground. So that makes a lot of sense, but it's wired up. Let's see if it works. Off. The fan's off, that's great. And then let's turn it on. Dude, that's awesome. All right, let's fire this thing up. I'm not sure how much that other relay is. I mean, I think these were like 70 bucks each, so that other relay kit may have been 50, 60 bucks, but I just had a cheap four-wire relay laying around, so pays to have parts laying around. And then now we're gonna wait for this to warm up a bit, because we gotta set the temperature at which the fans come on. Okie dokie, we're just under 200. and the fans haven't kicked on yet. So we're gonna back this off a bit until that fan kicks on. All right, so that kicked on, and I'm gonna leave this one to come on a little bit hotter, because I don't want these fans to kick on at the same time. You know, you could have a lot of electrical draw on the charging system, and it's just good practice to not do that. But let's keep an eye on our temp gauge here to see what happens. It's pulling it down, so that's a good sign. Great success. Both fans are running great. I really like the relay setup here, but I really don't like this. I feel like Meradyne could do a better job at making this not look so cheap. Even if they just gave me a couple of knobs to put on here, I think I'd be happy. But you know what? If it works, I really don't care what it looks like. Because at the end of the day, it just needs to get me where I want to go. Got to get on these headers tomorrow, and I think actually, while it's hot, let me shut this off. Oh yeah, dude. That feels great. Oh yeah. This is looking really promising. You know what? They probably put anti-seize on these when they put these headers on. God, that's hot. That had me real nervous. You know, anytime you take headers off or exhaust off something that's had it on there for a long time, sometimes those bolts like to stay in and the heads like to off. Well, that's gonna do it for me today. I'll see y'all in the morning. Are we gonna be able to pull it out this way? Might have to go under to get this out. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on. So here's that header wrap, and you know, taking a look at the primary tubes, you gotta kind of see like how much space you have. So right here, we should be able to get a run down to probably about this area here. On this tube, we'll probably be able to get it to about right there. On this one, probably about the same, and this one about the same. So pretty much like from this tube right here and on, it's gonna be one continuous wrap. So to start this, I'm gonna start at this. This is gonna be the Ford, actually #1 cylinder. I'm gonna fold over the header wrap. Get that going right there, just like that. Take a zip tie. There you go. And now the fun begins. I know some people that soak this header wrap in water and let it get all nice and wet. And the theory behind that is once it dries, it dries tighter. It'll dry smaller than what it would be if it was when it was wet. So I've done that before, and to be honest with you, it makes a big mess, and then that fiberglass sticks to your skin. You know, because I mean, yeah, even if you're wearing gloves, it still gets up, it gets everywhere. So I've done it this way before and have no problems with it. If you get it nice and snug, you just go back, give it some twists. It doesn't have to be super tight. You just want it to be snug and overlap. That's all that you want. Man, wrapped headers look so dang cool, dude. I love that look. Got a little dirty there. You know, another thing that I hear about like wrapped headers is that, oh man, they don't last that long. Well, I wrapped the headers in my 67 C10 about two and a half years ago now. Look brand freaking new, man. I actually had to take them off to do some work to the motor when I took the motor out to do the cam. And I mean, it's a little more brittle than it was when it was brand new, but I mean, it works great, still looks freaking good, and I drive that truck a lot. Probably not as much as I drive the dually though. Started pulling the passenger side header out. Thought it was gonna be easy. Never is. So basically, guys, started to pull the header out, and there's a starter that goes right there, and it's the size of a freaking cinder block. So these primary tubes are nice and tight, go down. You got the firewall right there, and you got your starter right here. Well, this fella wraps under the starter, so I thought, well, you know, maybe I could just take the wires off. No. You gotta take the starter off to get this out, but you can't just take the starter off. You gotta start taking the header off, loosen up the starter, drop it down, loosen up the header, drop it down, and then as they're both coming down together, then you could pull the starter out after you remove the ground strap from the transmission to the frame. Loads of fun. Lots of creative language was said. Just laying down on the ground looking at the sky, just regretting even working on this truck today. I hate working on the ground. And seems like that's all I do. At least over the last couple of weeks, just working on the ground. And I'm tired, very tired. But that's half the battle, so we're gonna get those wrapped. Yep, we're gonna get those wrapped and then figure out how it all goes back in, because I gotta have like 4 arms to make all this work, and I have no help here. Now that I'm covered in fiberglass, I got both the headers done. I've always just loved the look of wrapped headers, wrapped exhaust. I think it looks pretty tough. And you know, the engine bay ain't pretty under here, but I think it'll be a nice touch, aesthetically speaking. But I'm really hoping that it calms the frick down with the temperature, because dude, that is ridiculous. I probably should have done a before and after, but I've shot them before with my infrared thermometer. They're between 750 and 800 once you get everything up to temperature and idling, or once you get everything up to temperature, driving and all that fun stuff. Doing a little dab of the old anti-seize. You know, future you would really be very appreciative of this if you ever have to take these back out. Of course, if you're like me, you got to do things like 2, 3, maybe even 4 times, or 5 or 6, possibly 7 to get things right. Also, what they say about anti-seize is true. The littlest dab gets everywhere. I mean, everywhere, man. Oh, missed one. No, I didn't. That's for the dipstick. That's for the dipstick, you dipstick. Now, when you're torquing down these headers with your anti-seize, you don't gotta go crazy with it, man. All this metal's gonna be expanding and contracting and expanding and contracting. It's just, you know, I think it's like 13 foot-pounds. Not sure, not gonna check it, but it's not very much. Click, click. Ooh, got it. Oh, click, 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 click. Okay, got it all buttoned up. That took way too much work as usual. Let's fire her up here. Might have, yep. Got some plug wires crossed. Let me fix that real quick. Let's try that again. Great. Got some smoke billowing off of those headers now. And not gonna lie, first impressions, it's not as loud as it was. It's definitely quieted down a lot. I could hear the valve train ticking away. It sounds the same back here. That is crazy. I did not think that it would quiet down the engine bay that much. Just gave her a proper test drive. She's still smoking. What are we looking at here, boys? Okay, 650. Cut it by about 100 degrees. Got 621. That one's at 700. I mean, we're still super hot, but I did give it a real good shakedown. I'm smelling brakes right now, because what I was doing was I was braking it and then putting the load on like I was pulling a trailer going up grade. We started to get up to like 210, 205, 210. Why is the idle so high? We're idling super high. Yeah, we were idling at like 1,300 RPM. That's way too high. So I'll let this sit for a minute and see if it brings our coolant temperature down. Well, we let the truck sit at idle for the last 15 minutes. Now that we got the idle down a little bit, decided to turn the AC back on to see how it does. And survey says we're sitting at about 205. Not really what I wanted to see. Before this whole fiasco happened, I would be sitting at about 190 right now. So I don't think these fans are moving nearly as much air as the Spal fans. But now that they're not going to shut off, is this enough to fix the overheating issue when towing up a steep grade? I don't know, but we're gonna find out, because we're towing Cookie Monster to Southeastern Truck Nationals. That truck is gonna be in the Tinworks fabrication booth. If you wanna put your hands on it and see it, I give you permission to touch it, because you know what? We got a long way to go before this thing is even considered a show truck, and the dually is gonna be in the LMC truck booth. But before Southeastern Truck Nationals, we're gonna go to C10s in the city. Now, if you guys haven't been to that show, it is in Atlanta, and it is a really good time. There's some great food spots, a couple of breweries, a couple of spots you can check out in the show area. But of course, all of my friends are going up there, so I'm going too. Lauren's coming with me, and I think it's gonna be a really good time. Anyway, guys and gals, if you enjoyed watching me struggle during this video, why don't you check this one out over here? Or if you want to see some of the show coverage I do, why don't you check this one out over there? Or if you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be freaking awesome. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.